The black stone hall of Valdoria burned with torchlight that threw blue shadows upon its walls. King Althar sat on his throne of obsidian, jaw clenched, eyes bright with a cold fury. Word of Eldoria's resilience had reached him. Varkor lived, Nyla's blockade had failed, and General Kaelen had dared to hesitate. Althar's voice carried no shout. It struck like iron dropped on glass. Kaelen is done. From the ranks of the court, another figure stepped forward, General Dreadbane. Younger than Kaelen, his armor gleamed black, etched with blood-red runes. His eyes were sharp and merciless, his loyalty carved not from honor but from fear and ambition. He bowed low, but his voice was steel. "I will bring ash where Eldoria stands." The king's lips curled into a smile without warmth. The decree was sealed. The army lay encamped on a frostbitten plain, banners snapping against the wind. Soldiers murmured at Kaelen's indecision in Eldoria, but none dared question his command until Dreadbane arrived. By torchlight, he rode into camp, his horse armored, his cloak stiff with frost. Behind him rode the king's courier, bearing the crimson seal. Kaelen met them at the center fire, helm under his arm, scars across his face. The courier read aloud, the king's edict, Kaelen relieved of command. Dreadbane named supreme commander, Kaelen to be taken back to Valdoria, accused of treason by delay. Silence struck the camp like a blade. Kaelen's hand twitched toward his sword, but he did not draw it. He let the courier's men bind his hands, his face unreadable. Soldiers who had marched under him for years shifted uneasily, shame in their eyes. Dreadbane smirked and turned to the ranks.
"Form lines. Tomorrow we march. Tonight we cleanse ourselves of weakness."
Kaelen was led away into the shadows of the camp, but not all shadows belonged to the king. Before dawn, a blade cut his bonds. 3 loyal captains stood waiting. They fled into the frost, leaving behind only the whisper of treachery. By sunrise, Kaelen was gone. In Eldoria, the villagers stirred under a thin, trembling light. Smoke rose from damp wood, nets hung empty. Grain was counted seed by seed. The children clung to their mothers' cloaks, their eyes wide and hollow. Hope was running thin. Yet, they prepared hard. On the cliffs, Elara stood with Varkor at her side, Emberblade at her hip. The dragon's golden scales were dulled, his breath misting heavy in the morning air. His wounds from the sea still burned, though he would never admit it. Elara's jaw tightened. She knew the enemy came. Finn watched from the shadows, gaze set toward the north. He carried maps stolen from Nyla's halls, secrets inked into his mind. But also he carried doubt, and the memory of her perfume, of her gaze. He said little, though Elara's eyes searched him. Between them, silence carried more weight than words. From the pasture, a shepherd's horn rang sharp. Dust on the horizon, not a cloud, an army. The Valdorian host swept across the plains like a dark tide. Standards stabbed the sky, drums thundered, siege towers and rams rolled heavy with iron. At their head rode General Dreadbane, black cloak snapping, eyes like knives. The villagers saw, and fear bled through them. But Elara's voice steadied. "We hold." The first assault came with fire. Arrows streaked the sky. Ladders crashed against stone. Drums beat like thunder in their bones. Eldoria shook under the weight of an empire's wrath. Elara stood at the gate, Emberblade burning, cutting down those who climbed the walls. Her cloak streamed behind her like a banner. Finn moved unseen, slipping through smoke and shadow, toppling ladders, striking unseen at officers. Varkor roared and hurled himself skyward, fire bursting from his throat. Flames scattered soldiers, burned siege towers to skeletons. But then a ballista fired. A barbed chain bolt. It struck his side. Varkor screamed, wings faltering. Body crashing into the cliffs. He dragged himself upward, blood hissing on the stone. Eldoria staggered. Walls cracked, cottages burned. Panic spread like wildfire. And then, sabotage. In the Valdorian lines, wagons exploded, fires lit in supply carts. Rumors ran like panic. Kaelen's loyalists were still among them. Chaos bit at the edges of the perfect ranks. The moment gave breath. Elara met Dreadbane's captain in single combat, her blade flashing like starlight. She cut him down before the gates. And for a heartbeat, Eldoria roared with defiance. But Dreadbane himself advanced, a wall of black iron, his greatsword heavy as doom. He struck Elara down to her knees. His blade inches from her throat. The world seemed to break. Finn leapt from the shadows, daggers flashing, forcing Dreadbane back. He fought like desperation given form, but even together they faltered beneath the weight of the general's strength. And then, a roar split the sky. Varkor, bleeding but unbroken, rose once more. His wings thundered, his flame poured down, scattering the Valdorian host. Soldiers fled, siege engines cracked, fire turned the battlefield into ash.
This is not done!
Dreadbane snarled, cloak torn, sword burning with rage. But even he was forced to retreat, dragged back by his surviving captains. His voice carried across the smoke. This is not done. By dusk, Eldoria still stood, scarred, bleeding, half-burned, but alive. Villagers wept as they counted their dead and clung to their children. Varkor lay collapsed upon the cliffs, chest heaving, smoke rising from his wounds. Elara knelt beside him, her hand pressed to his scales. Finn stood apart, shadows in his eyes. The note still burned in Elara's cloak. Your traitor wears honest eyes. And though Eldoria had survived the first storm, the seed of mistrust still spread roots. Far away, in Valdoria's throne hall, King Althar listened to Dreadbane's report. His fury turned cold once more. If they survive fire, then give them shadow. And in Karazhan, Nyla smiled in her sea-born palace, her emerald ring glinting as she whispered to herself, "Let the game begin." Thank you for watching. I'm just a hard-working YouTuber, trying my best to bring you interesting stories. I will greatly appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel. It means the world to me. Thank you once again.